So SkillUp Somerset is a project that's run by the Dorset and Somerset training provider network. So that's who I'm actually employed by, and I work on the SkillUp project. So we have excellent links with the sort of local colleges, providers and other stakeholders to be able to get you all the up-to-date information. We work very closely with them and have contacts in all of those organisations to be able to put you in contact with the right person to get things moving with your chosen provider. So we've got access, as I said, we've got access to all the relevant information to help you with that decision making. Our website has got a lot of information on there for employers and sort of advice, which a lot of it will be covered today, but if you need a refresher at any point after today's webinar, there's an awful lot of information on there as well. And that's it really. So we support you through your journey. Once we've established which provider you've chosen to use, and we've sort of gone through that sort of advice and support part of the journey, then we keep in contact with you. Obviously, we promote your vacancies on our social media, and we make sure that everything runs smoothly for you right through up until when your apprentice is recruited and enrolled. So that's what we do for businesses. Similarly, I'll just quickly sort of skim over what we do. We also, as I said, work with the community, so we work with individuals. Again, we give the free impartial advice and guidance on the skills, training and apprenticeships options. It's been quite a peak, I would say, at the moment with individuals coming to us with a lot of, obviously, unfortunately, the sort of redundancies, etc., due to COVID. So that's something that we're seeing an awful lot of at the moment. But if it doesn't have to be someone that's unemployed, it can be someone that's wanting to do some training to sort of get on in their job as well. So, you know, it can be someone that's still employed. And again, we've got access to all those funding options and the contacts within the different agencies and providers to be able to refer you to and support you through your journey. Sorry, next slide, Dave. I think that was it, wasn't it?
That was it. Yeah.
You now.
Great stuff. Thank you, Nikki. So I'm not sure how familiar everyone is with Somerset Skills and Learning, but in a nutshell, we are a community interest company. We have centres across Somerset, and our main aim is to make a positive impact in people's lives through learning. So we provide adult education to those who are aged predominantly 19 plus, but we also have some provision for 16 plus as well, in a variety of areas. And I guess the difference with us in a college is that we are a community interest company, so we don't have the same restrictions maybe that a college does, so we can be a lot more flexible and adaptable to the community in which we support. We're independent, so although we are Somerset Skills and Learning, we do also support employers on the fringes, especially on kind of Wiltshire, Baines, Dorset and Devon. And we've been around for over 25 years now, so there's a huge amount of experience in the organisation. We've got our bricks and mortar centre in Palmer Street, but as most organisations have had to recently, we've moved very much towards virtual. So much of our delivery is now happening virtually, and it's increasing accessibility of people to be able to utilise our courses and support, which has been great news. We've got over 100 courses on offer, so if you fancy taking a look at our website after today's presentation, please have a look. There's a huge variety of courses there, things like taster courses, but also information on other kind of career-related courses too. And we support over 6,000 students across Somerset every year. Our main areas of specialism are in areas such as business essentials, customer service, admin, digital skills, apprenticeships and traineeships being very much our core offer, but we also have a very popular offer in areas such as English and maths, so functional skills and GCSEs, for example, where we've got over 100 students starting as GCSEs this month. And people like us too. We've got a nice photo there of some of the staff, some of our apprentices at Critchfield School here in Frome. The independent survey, our most recent independent survey, suggests that 95% of students would recommend us to friends and family, and 89% of employers rated us as good or above. Somerset Skills and Learning has the best employer satisfaction rate of any provider in Somerset, something we're really, really proud of. So that's really good news and something we want to maintain and improve on all the time. And to give you a kind of a real kind of taste and an overview of what we do in this visual, you can see the kind of thing that we offer there. So some of those we've already mentioned, but if you'd like more details on any of those areas, more than happy to take some questions at the end. So today we're going to focus mainly on two of those areas, traineeships and apprenticeships. And we'll start with traineeships. And I guess for a lot of people, up until recently, traineeships weren't particularly well known. It was quite apprenticeships had a lot of focus, a lot of exposure nationally. But traineeships have never really been that well publicised until the incentives were announced back in the summer and employers and learners started getting quite interested. So how does it work? So in a nutshell, it's a pre-apprenticeship programme. So it's preparing a young person either for an apprenticeship, for a job, or into further education. And traineeships are available for anyone who's aged between 16 and 34. So providers will have contracts across the county to be able to fund these traineeships, and we have funding to be able to fund individuals within that age category. The great thing about traineeships, and we have so many success stories that we could share, we could be here for a long time, is that trainees gain really valuable unpaid work experience. So it's not just the work experience, they also receive the benefit of the in-class support as well and the tutor support. So in a whole, it gives them that really robust support from a tutor, but also gives them that taste and experience of being in a real workplace. For employers, it's really useful because it gives employers a chance to try before you buy. So almost to dip your toe in the water, to give a young person a chance, who might be with you, say, up to 3 days per week, and that could last anything between normally 6 weeks to 6 months. And for you to have the opportunity to try them out really and see how they fit, how they perform, how they work, and potentially, and we get this now more and more, which is always a fantastic result, is at the end of that period, the employer then offers them an apprenticeship. So there's a really positive outcome for both the individual and for the employer as well. And it also means that for the employer, there's a little bit less risk involved because it gives you that opportunity to give them that trial. 75% of trainees who started ended up with an apprenticeship in the last 12 months. So again, the outcomes of this are really, really positive, and those better futures that we're building for young people are really, really happening. If you decide you'd like to go ahead and recruit a trainee, there's 2 different ways you can go about it. One is that you might have someone in mind and you can bring that young person to us and work together to put together a programme and a plan for them. Or it might be that you want to go down the route of advertising for a traineeship. And if that's the case you want to go, we will offer a free recruitment service where we will advertise, we will recruit, shortlist for you. There'll be a dedicated tutor which will be assigned to you and the young person. And of course, we'll give you more details in a minute about how it works, but there's also a £1,000 government incentive as a thank you for supporting that young person. A bit about apprenticeships now. Apprenticeships are real jobs, and that's really important that it is a real job. It's a real job with training. So 20% of the apprentice's time is expected to be on training, but the rest of the time, the 80% of time, is that they are a key member of your staff and they have a contracted employment with you, just like any other member of staff would have. Apprenticeships have all moved in the recent years towards something called standards, and it's very much focused on knowledge, skills and behaviours throughout the apprenticeship. And those are assessed with something called an endpoint assessment. So we are there to help support you to provide them with that knowledge, skills and behaviours that they need to succeed to pass that endpoint assessment. And the great thing is that these standards have been designed by real employers, so they're not something that academics have come up with or something that government have come up with. They have been designed by employers in the relevant sectors, so the content of those apprenticeships is very much focused on what that employer in that sector would need. There's often a myth that apprentices are 16 to 18-year-olds. That's totally not right. In fact, most of the apprentices that we get who start with us, I would say, are probably averaging now around the age of 30. And we get a wide range. So we do get some school leavers, but we also get some of those who maybe are having a career change later in life, or the situation has changed and they want to go in a different direction, and the apprenticeship is an attractive route for them. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a new recruit either. It could be someone in your organisation who you want to invest in, perhaps as a team leader, for example, where they can become a team leader and receive that qualification through an apprenticeship route. So they can either be new to the business, or they can be an existing employee that you would then support through an apprenticeship. And of course, the appeal for anyone is that they get to earn while they learn on the apprenticeship. So we tend to, at the moment, get anything from about 5 to 15 applications per vacancy. That's increasing at the moment all the time, but it does give you, again, that scope to be able to be quite selective in who you'd like to bring into your business and give them that opportunity. And it's all about that talent, really. By investing in that person, you're giving them the opportunity to become a member of your team, to receive the training, and actually give you the opportunity to mould them into the way that you want them to behave, especially around anyone who's totally new to that sector, you know, to give them that opportunity to start from scratch, and you to support them in that journey. And for apprentices at the moment, there are incentives of between £1,000 and £3,000 for taking on an apprentice, and we'll go through those in a little bit more detail. So if you decide to go ahead and bring on an apprentice, again, we will offer a free recruitment service. We will do the legwork in terms of promoting vacancies, shortlisting, and checking that they're eligible for an apprenticeship. The training will either be fully funded or it may be co-funded, depending on the size of your organisation. And the financial commitment from the employer is that you would need to pay that apprentice at least a national minimum wage. So there is an expectation that you will cover their wages at least at the minimum rate. And in Somerset Skills and Learning here in Frome, the areas that we offer for apprenticeships and trainees are in areas such as early years, teaching assistants, leadership and management, customer service, and business administration. So there are five key areas. So the big news recently in all the newspapers and in the media was the announcement of the new financial incentives. And let's be honest, they're quite complex, and I think anyone who reads them at first glance probably thinks, wow, this is quite difficult to comprehend. So what I've tried to do today is try to simplify it slightly, to outline 3 of the main incentives that the governments have announced to enable you to understand how that may benefit you as an employer. So the first one is traineeships. So traineeships, they are available for an employer who offers that long-term work experience, 16 to 24-year-olds, and they would need to be given something between 60 to 90 hours of work experience during that programme. The young person needs to be qualified up to level 3. So if they held a level 4 qualification, they wouldn't be eligible, but they can have a qualification up to level 3, and each employer can take on up to 10 trainees.
What does a level 3 qualification?
A level 3 would be equivalent to an A level.
Thanks.
So they can be up to that level. That's recently changed. Before, the cap was at level 2, but that's recently been extended to a level 3. So it's made this one a lot more accessible than what it was before. They need to start with the employer from September the 1st, so from now, and they need to have started in that placement between now and the end of January. If that happens and it's all successful, there's £1,000 for you from the government, and the typical commitment you would need to offer is somewhere, again, between 6 weeks to 6 months to support that young person. Somerset Skills and Learning are just about to also announce our own incentives for young people, because one of the things we're aware of is that the incentives are very much geared towards employers, and we want to incentivise young people to consider a traineeship. So one of the things we're going to do, we're going to be the first in the county, if not maybe in the country, is that we're actually going to pay traineeships a wage, an hourly wage, which we will contribute to support them. So it will make it more appealing for them when they're weighing up all the various incentives, but actually they'll get paid £3 an hour from Somerset Skills and Learning whilst they're on that traineeship. So there also is going to be a start incentive and a completion incentive for that young person. We're financially committing to support young people to encourage them to consider a traineeship. So that's worth bearing in mind as well, because it's likely to mean that the calibre of person who applies for a traineeship is likely to be higher quality, because they also want that ambition to earn as well as learn. The Kickstart, and this is one that is still a little bit sketchy. There are more and more details coming out all the time, but the Kickstart scheme is again aimed at a similar age group, and this scheme is aimed at paying the wages of the young person. So this means up to 25 hours of wages per week will be covered by the government. One caveat with this, and I think this is causing employers to be a bit more restricted in terms of who they can offer this to, is that young person must already be on universal credit. So if they're not on universal credit, they wouldn't be eligible for a job kickstart in the first place. So it does limit the market there in terms of who employers can tap into. Again, it covers the same period, but there are more details still to be announced. Nicola, if you have any more details to add to this, because I was on leave last week when some of the detail was announced, is there any other kind of headlines that are worth mentioning around Kickstart?
Well, obviously the last week that they announced that an employer to apply for funding in their own right has to be offering a minimum of 30 placements, which a lot of organisations, well, all the organisations, councils, LEPs, etc., have recognised and acknowledged that's discriminating against small businesses, and that's going to mean it's going to be difficult for a lot of small businesses to do that. There is an option for smaller businesses to join forces as like a sort of a collaborative kind of thing, if you like, to be able to apply for that funding, so that they're sort of jointly offering 30 placements. At the moment, that option is there, and I know that there's a lot of discussion going on at county level between district councils, the LEP, organisations such as ourselves at SkillUp. We're involved in those discussions as well, to actually come to a sort of a plan, to come up with a plan really, and a solution to how we can support smaller businesses to actually take advantage of this Kickstart programme and get that funding. So it is all a bit, there are no answers to that at the moment. Those discussions are ongoing, and yeah, and watch this space. We're hopefully to have some solutions to that very soon for you all.
Cool, thanks, Nikki.
Okay.
And apprenticeships, which are the most popular, certainly at the moment we're experiencing here at Somerset Skills and Learning. We were anticipating a decrease in starts in September based on this time last year. It looks like we're going to be at least on par, if not more, which I think is a really positive sign generally, the way that employers and are embracing apprenticeships. So it's really, really positive. There's some big money here, and the government have really committed financially to this. So the main detail around apprenticeships is that if you employ a new hire, and when we say new hire, that needs to be a new hire to the company. So they can't have worked for the organisation previously in the last 12 months. You need to have a new contract of employment with the organisation. If you make a new hire between now and the 31st of January, if that new hire is aged between 16 and 18, you will receive £3,000. If they're aged between 19 and 24, it would be £2,000. And if they're over 25 years of age, it's £1,500. There's also the benefit that if that person is aged between 16 and 25, you also receive a national insurance rebate, which equates to about 11% of wages over that time. So there's some fairly big chunks of money there available to employers. They're paid in 2 instalments, so one after several months and one at the end of a year, and apprenticeships are a minimum of a year in duration. So typically there'd be anything between a year and a bit to 18 months, or perhaps 2 years longer, depending if they're a higher level. But there's up to £3,000 there. Employers need to claim this themselves, so we will support you and give you the guidance to be able to do this, but it's something that employers will need to claim through a digital account which the government have set up online. It's fairly straightforward. Again, details are still being released about it, but they have started now to enable employers to start making claims for these incentives. So more or less now, I guess, to the close, I guess, and the chance to ask questions and any next steps. Real brief recap: Somerset Skills and Learning. We talked about traineeships and apprenticeships today. We also offer a large number of qualifications, as I mentioned. Some of the most popular at the moment are our distance learning opportunities. We've got over 40 distance learning opportunities, everything from team leading to understanding autism to mental health. They're all available, level 2 qualifications, fully funded for anyone living in Somerset via our website. Our contact details and website is here, but again, we're happy to take questions in a sec. Nikki's details too. Do you want to run through, Nikki, yourself and Jane's contact details?
Yeah, so we, as I said, we sort of support businesses and individuals. So I am predominantly responsible for the business support for Mendip, as well as Sedgemoor and South Somerset. So please contact me if you want any further support as a business to look at your options, particularly if perhaps you're in an industry or a sector that's not covered by SS&L. I'd be more than happy to sort of go through your options and let you know what else is out there. For community support and for individuals, my colleague Jane Parker, she's our information advisor and employment coach, so she works on a one-to-one basis, mostly virtually at the moment, but she is out in the community when you know, she will be back out in the community again, sorry, once she's able to, and she's there for any inquiries. If anybody, you know, wants any advice on employment, training, redundancy, anything like that, then Jane's your lady.